Nicholas Alexandrovich Romanov, later known to the world as Tsar Nicholas II, was born on the 18th of May 1868 in the opulent surroundings of the Alexander Palace in Tsarskoye Selo near St. Petersburg. His birth was a momentous occasion, heralded by the ringing of church bells and the firing of cannons as the Russian Empire celebrated the arrival of its future ruler. His birth was met with great celebration, for he was the first son of Tsar Alexander III and Empress Maria Feodorovna. The royal couple, deeply devoted to each other, saw in Nicholas the continuation of the Romanov dynasty, a lineage that had ruled Russia for over 3 centuries. From his early years, Nicholas was raised with a strong sense of duty and faith, instilled in him by his parents. His father, Tsar Alexander III, was a stern and imposing figure, while his mother, Maria Feodorovna, was known for her grace and charm. Together, they sought to prepare Nicholas for the immense responsibilities that lay ahead. Despite his privileged upbringing, Nicholas was said to be a shy and sensitive child. He often found solace in the quiet moments of his youth, away from the grandeur and expectations of the royal court. His gentle nature was a stark contrast to the formidable presence of his father. He enjoyed spending time with his family and had a passion for history and military affairs. Nicholas would often be found engrossed in books, learning about the great battles and leaders of the past. His fascination with the military was evident in his collection of toy soldiers, which he meticulously arranged and commanded in mock battles. Few could have predicted the tumultuous future that awaited the young prince. The serene and structured world of his childhood would soon give way to the chaos and upheaval of a nation on the brink of revolution. Nicholas's childhood was comfortable, but his education was rigorous, preparing him for the possibility of one day inheriting the throne. He was tutored by some of the most esteemed scholars of the time, who imparted knowledge in a wide array of subjects. He received private tutoring from renowned scholars in a variety of subjects, including languages, history, and political science. This comprehensive education was designed to equip him with the skills and knowledge necessary to govern a vast and diverse empire. However, despite his intellectual curiosity, Nicholas never seemed entirely comfortable with the prospect of becoming Tsar. The weight of the crown was a heavy burden, one that he often felt unprepared to bear. The weight of responsibility, the complexities of governing a vast empire, these were daunting prospects for a young man who craved a simpler life. Nicholas often found himself yearning for the tranquility of the countryside, where he could escape the pressures of his royal duties. His early years were also marked by tragedy. The assassination of his grandfather, Tsar Alexander II, by revolutionaries cast a long shadow over his childhood, serving as a stark reminder of the dangers and instability that plagued Russia. The assassination of his grandfather, Tsar Alexander II, by revolutionaries cast a long shadow over his childhood, serving as a stark reminder of the dangers and instability that plagued Russia. This traumatic event left an indelible mark on Nicholas, shaping his views on governance and the need for a strong autocratic rule. This event, seared into the young Nicholas's mind, would profoundly shape his worldview and his approach to ruling Russia. It instilled in him a deep-seated fear of revolution and a determination to maintain the autocratic power, even as the world around him began to change. To understand Nicholas II's reign, one must understand the Russia he inherited. The vast expanse of the Russian Empire stretched from Europe to Asia, encompassing a multitude of cultures, languages, and traditions. It was a land of immense natural resources and potential, yet it was also a land fraught with deep-seated issues. For centuries, the Romanovs had ruled with absolute power. Their autocratic grip on the nation was unyielding, and their rule was often marked by opulence and grandeur. However, this absolute power also meant that the Tsars were often out of touch with the common people. This autocratic system, while providing stability, had become increasingly outdated in a world where calls for reform and democratic ideals were spreading rapidly. The winds of change were blowing across Europe, and Russia was not immune to these influences. Russia in the late 19th century was a nation of stark contrasts. The vast landscapes ranged from the frozen tundras of Siberia to the fertile plains of Ukraine. These geographical contrasts were mirrored in the social fabric of the nation. While the aristocracy lived in opulent luxury, enjoying the finest that life had to offer, their lives were a world apart from the majority of the population. The vast majority of Russians endured lives of poverty and hardship. The peasants, who made up the bulk of the population, faced grueling labor and harsh living conditions. The peasantry, bound to the land and burdened by archaic social structures, struggled to make ends meet. Their lives were dictated by the seasons and the whims of nature, with little hope for change or improvement. Their plight was often ignored by the ruling elite, who seemed more concerned with maintaining their power and privilege than addressing the needs of the people. The disconnect between the rulers and the ruled was stark and growing. The Industrial Revolution, while transforming Western Europe, was slow to take hold in Russia. The country lagged behind in technological advancements and industrial growth. This created a growing divide between Russia and its European counterparts, both economically and technologically. The gap was becoming increasingly evident, and it was a source of national embarrassment and frustration. Furthermore, the empire was a melting pot of diverse ethnicities and religions, many of whom felt marginalized and oppressed by the centralized government in St. Petersburg. The lack of representation and autonomy for these groups added to the growing discontent. This volatile mix of social, economic, and political problems created a powder keg of discontent that was waiting for a spark to ignite it. The stage was set for a dramatic and tumultuous period in Russian history, one that would ultimately reshape the nation and its people. Nicholas II's path to the throne was not straightforward. Born into the Romanov dynasty, he was the eldest son of Tsar Alexander III and Empress Maria Feodorovna. From a young age, Nicholas was groomed for leadership, but his father's robust health and strong rule made it seem like Nicholas's ascension was a distant event. As the eldest son, he was heir apparent, but his father, Tsar Alexander III, was a robust man, and his reign was expected to be long. Alexander III was known for his conservative policies and strong leadership, which left a significant mark on the empire. However, fate had other plans. In 1894, Alexander III died unexpectedly from kidney disease at the relatively young age of 49. This sudden loss sent shockwaves through the royal family and the nation. Nicholas, thrust into the spotlight, was wholly unprepared for the enormous responsibility that had been thrust upon him. He had not been given the same rigorous training and experience that his father had received. The sudden death of his father left Nicholas reeling, both personally and politically. He was just 26 years old, and the weight of the Russian Empire now rested on his shoulders. He was grief-stricken and overwhelmed by the prospect of leading Russia. The young Tsar found himself in a position he had never fully prepared for, and the pressure was immense. His lack of experience and his naturally reserved personality did little to inspire confidence in the court or amongst the Russian people. Many in the royal court and the broader political landscape doubted his ability to lead effectively. Many questioned his ability to rule effectively and to navigate the complex challenges facing the empire. The political climate was fraught with tension, and Nicholas's reserved nature did not help to alleviate these concerns. Despite his reservations, Nicholas dutifully accepted the throne, believing it to be his sacred duty. He felt a deep sense of obligation to uphold the legacy of his ancestors and to serve his country. He was crowned Tsar on 26 May 1896 in a lavish ceremony at the Assumption Cathedral in Moscow. The event was meant to symbolize the continuity and strength of the Romanov dynasty. The coronation was marred by tragedy when, during the festivities, a stampede occurred on Kadinka Field, resulting in the deaths of over 1,000 people. This disaster cast a long shadow over what should have been a joyous occasion. This event, widely seen as a bad omen, cast a pall over the beginning of Nicholas II's reign. It was an inauspicious start for the young Tsar, who already faced immense challenges and skepticism from his subjects. The weight of the crown challenges to a young Tsar.